Speaking of the love of the game, here we go. It's a little puzzle. It's a cutie little puzzle. Cutie little puzzle. 3. It's a rare. It's a new rare. Wait, it's a little baby new rare? Oh, but it's neither a creature nor an enchantment. Finale of Devastation. I guess it could have been a myth. It could have been a mythic, which is why I went with this. 1 mana rare. Spymaster's Vault. It isn't a land. It is a 1 mana black. 1 mana black rare. They don't do that often. Oh, Vorpal Sword. Ah, shit. Right, it wouldn't be an equipment. 1 mana black instant. Oh, is this is going to be some stupid, like, strive? No, not strive. Spree? It's going to be like a spree card or like some kind of kicker. 1 mana black instant. What the fuck? Or it's going to be a commander card and everybody's going to be upset. Shieldred. What are you called? Okay. Don't be Streets of New Capenna. Oh, body count or body drop. Is it from New Capenna proper? Which would be Rafine Scheming. Nope, it's from. Are you from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty? Don't be from Warhammer. What's the card from Work? Biofeed. No, it's. Wait, what? Oh, that's Commander Collection. Lamau. Crimson Vow. Nobody remembers. Great. No, that's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Invoke Despair. There's a 1 mana black instant at rare in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Black instant. What? Oh, the Otherworldly Light. March of Wretched Sorrow. Yeah, all right. I was like, what the fuck? What's from Kamigawa? And thankfully, I was sleeving up March of Otherworldly Light. All right, great. We did it. I did it, folks. Glad I could get there and not fully embarrass myself. Speaking of. If this add 1 mana of any color of the chosen type. Add 1 mana of the chosen type. As this artifact enters, choose a color. No, not Gauntlet of Power. Caged? No. Choose a color? I believe it is just choose a color. Let's choose a color. It enters and chooses a color? Get +X+X. Something of the chosen color. Oh, excuse me. It's not Gauntlet of Power. It's not. Oh, is it Heraldic Banner? It's probably Heraldic Banner, right? Yeah, this card's very popular. Hey, I was like, pick a color, add a mana. And in my head, I'm like, it's got to be a bigger one. And then I'm like, no, it's this card. This card's popular because it's cheap and it's everywhere and it's honestly pretty good. All right, hard mode. Aerate hard mode. Somebody, something. Is that Ward? Have Ward blank. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, some things you control have ward blank, and it's a wizard. I feel like this might be a Baldur's Gate card. I can't quite. Something you and control. Have ward blank. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it's with an R. I feel like this might be. Oh, it's Sauron, the white. Saruman, the white hand. Saruman, the white hand. Right, because it gives all the goblins and orcs. Wow, he got it! Yippee! What a good guy. I'm the good guy. Hello, chat. How are you? Glad to have you. Good to have you. How'd you have you? What up? Big news today. Big news today, and I'll put on some music, and we'll get the cue. But I do want to discuss some stuff because we have some big news today. We have a ban list announcement. In fact, this is the only format that received a ban list announcement. It's a commander ban list announcement. This is something that we have been working on as a member of the Commander Format panel. This is something we've been working on for a long ass time. Well, some of it. A lot of discussions going on. I'm not going to read this article entirely, but I figured that I would read through a lot of the important parts, and I can answer some questions or discuss some of the changes if, you know, it's pertinent. Because, yeah, why not? Discord drove the hammer into its own dick. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I assume it's something that requires people to sign up or sell their identity or something. That's my guess. Usually is that guess. Worldwide age verification. Yeah, that's not great, but also, if you think Roblox is bad, wait till you see what Discord gets used for as well. I mean, Discord is very good for a lot of reasons, but also terrible for a lot of reasons. That stinks. That sucks. That, you know, that's not great. They're not doing this to protect kids. Yeah, well, they're never doing it to protect kids. I mean, a little bit, but yeah, no, rarely. Rarely, if ever, if never. Anywho. Let's talk Commander. Let's talk Commander. All right. So some changes went through. 2 cards were unbanned today in Commander. Biorhythm is unbanned. And Lutri the Spellchaser is unbanned, but remains banned as a companion. There's also another article up here that talks about how we've been discussing game changers, brackets, hybrid mana. We don't need to go into that too much, but the TLDR is that we're not making a change to hybrid mana. We've been discussing brackets and what they can do and what their purpose is, and people have been have responded very positively to brackets. There's a little cleaning up that can be done, but ultimately it's a very difficult thing to juggle because you need to be able to explain it in like 10 words or less, right? And you run the risk when you make changes to the bracket system that we have already, especially when it comes to introducing new brackets, you run the risk of getting too granular and also just running into too many. My deck's a 7. But the brackets are working great. People like them. We're just trying to figure out how much brackets can do, what we can expect them to do, and how easy it is for them to convey a flat kind of playing field. And the thing is, like, you can't expect them to do all the work, right? It's a social game. There's a social element to it where, you know, there are a lot of issues that aren't going to be solved by bracketing, because the issue isn't the bracket. The issue is that not everybody is good at socializing, and there are a lot of assholes that play Magic the Gathering. Like, so it's a bit of a dance. We haven't made a change to that. And I'm not going to talk about it too much. Is anyone on the panel advocating for segregating CDH to its own format? No. God, no. I'll say this up front, and I'll say this with conviction. Neither the people that we have on the panel as primarily CDH representatives, of which we have 4 now. We have 4 members on the Commander format panel that are like diehard CDH players, arguably 5. And none of those players are interested in creating CDH as its own format. None of the information that is being relayed from other prominent community members, tournament organizers, whatever you want to pick, people of note, for lack of better terms, want CDH to be its own format in the sense that it has its own ban list and whatnot. It's just not actually a popular opinion. And like, again, think of this. CDH is very small. That's not a bad thing. I love playing small formats. My favorite formats to play are Cube, not a format. Canadian Highlander, by all metrics, tiny compared to, you know, other things. And pre-modern, tiny, right? These are all formats that have enough players that you can find matches, you can play games, you could find content, whatever. But like the size of Commander and the size of other formats, standard or modern, right, completely dwarf CDH. Like it by a ridiculous metric, right? An absurdly large. And yet we still have, out of a panel of, God, how many people do we have? Like 12? Almost half of them are CDH players or people that are heavily invested in CDH. And that's not even including players such as myself who follows CDH, has CDH decks, has, I believe, an undefeated record playing CDH on gameplay shows. Well, at least once I figured out what deck I liked and what deck I was good at, Kappa. But it's not happening. The community doesn't want it. The community head doesn't want it. All it would do is make CDH even less of a presence. The fact that CDH can tie itself to Commander and lets itself say like, hey, this is Commander. This is just the most broken form of Commander is a boon. That is sick as hell, right? That's a good thing. In fact, it's such a good thing. You see other formats more or less tying themselves to that. You know what Canadian Highlander is? It's vintage. It's just vintage. When people play Canlander tournaments, they play vintage. Now, they play vintage with some home rules attached to it, but it's a vintage league. You have to make a vintage legal deck. You know? So that's not happening. I just want to get that out of the way. And I guess I'll say thank you to Reeser for the 10th month. Jesus Christ. Okay, here we go. Thank. You. 4. Having. Me. It's great. Two. B. Here. Oh. Somebody writes, it's thank you for having me. It's great to be here one time for every month in which they have subbed. Yes. Angel's also here. Everybody say hi to Angel. Thank you so much. No. The vocal warm-ups. An apple a day. Succinct silhouette. Anyways. Okay. Everybody says hi. Let's talk shop here very quickly. We made changes to the commander ban list. And we said we weren't going to touch the list for the rest of the year. And we're going to spend the next year to discuss that. And here we are. We did that. We made some changes to the commander ban list. They were very well received. People enjoyed them quite a bit. And then we said, we're not going to we're not going to do anything else. We're going to see how those changes work. We're going to see how the conversation works. And we're gonna listen. We're gonna cook. We're gonna make some changes, right? We're gonna use the tools that we have at hand to make changes. And we did. There was an article discussing some of those. I set them up at the top of this conversation. And to reach today's conclusion, both the format panel and the commander design group at Wizards discussed the banded list and voted on potential unbans. Additionally, I want to call out the commander summit we ran last year as particularly great for allowing some of these conversations to happen in person, planting the seeds for what we hear today. Okay. Great. Sorry, I got distracted by a message that I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Anyway, but positively. We have a great system set up here where a lot of it is a continuous conversation, very regular check-ins, both for anecdotal stuff and also just what we have found as a collection of players that some of us are content creators that just want the format to be as good as possible, and we want to have this is a big misunderstanding with what actually goes into making content as well, because you see people talk about it, and this is my favorite part about Magic players is how stupid and conspiratorial they are. Maybe this is just Americans, but it transcends the United States of America and extends to a variety of other countries and cultures. But God, they're stupid, because there's this idea that like, oh, the content creators, they just want the Magic to the games to play this way so it can get them more money and more clicks, and they're controlling everything because that's what their content is like. No, we want the gameplay to be good so that when we're playing 8 hours of Magic the Gathering over and over again under studio lights, we don't want to end it all. Like, it's not about the cards, it's about the personality. It always has been, and it always will be, especially when it comes to Commander gameplay, right? Like, nobody gives a shit about what's going on, aside from, like, 5% of the audience. And, like, if the people are enjoying themselves while they're playing the game, they will incorporate the game more into how they're enjoying themselves, which then the audience is going to respond to positively. So, I don't know where I was going with that. Just a little side tangent. It's just very funny. I think about it a lot, and I just witness it a lot as well. But yeah, we use the resources that we have from people talking, people that are involved in content creation and seeing what, audience cares about, what audience wants, being able to, which is a great source, because you have people that are so invested in Commander, they go out of their way to watch other people playing Commander, right? Yeah, we used the resources we wanted. We had these ongoing discussions. Then we had the summit. We were in person talking with designers, talking with members of Wizards of the Coast about changes, about our vibe on the format itself, all that stuff. That went on for like a week. Very fruitful. It's And that's so funny because, again, leading into the like conspiratorial dumbasses, like the idea of like these people don't care or whatever. And it's like, no, trust me, the people that make Magic the Gathering give a hoot about Magic the Gathering. And they are so like, I'm not going to sit here and break NDAs, but they are so interested in having a conversation with people that aren't in-house about things that they can't talk about outside of the house, you know? And because of that, you get so much transparency. You get to have these lengthy discussions. You get to be very upfront with expectations about the format or desires for the format. You get to figure out what they're cooking, you know? Which is great. Just so we spent the past year having incredibly meaningful discussions, figuring out what we wanted to do. And then, bam, it's the day we're going to do the thing. So, Unbanned Biorhythm. For those that don't know, Biorhythm is an 8-mana sorcery in green that says each player's life total becomes the number of creatures they control. Biorhythm has the potential to be a powerful card. It can end the game on the spot for a player with no creatures, and you can set up board states where you can take out all 3 opponents in a single go. We talked about this card a lot last year and ultimately decided to leave it on the ban list for the first go around. Its potential strength and disproportionate impact to the player to your right was something we noted and decided to hold off on. Biorhythm, like if your play pattern is I make a bunch of creatures, I'm going to cast, and my opponents have fewer creatures than me or 0 creatures than me, and I cast Biorhythm, I'm effectively winning the game. The problem is that's not how most games go. I don't know if you played Commander before, but it's a format built around creatures, and there are creatures all over the place. 2, it's a relatively expensive card. Even in green, 8 mana is a reasonable amount of mana. So if you want to cast Biorhythm, you have to not only build up your board in a way using creatures, easy to do, but does come at a risk if you're going real hard. You have to resolve this Biorhythm, an 8-mana sorcery, which can be difficult for your deck to find, unless you're very actively trying to do this. And then have it resolve and not die from that. And ideally kill other people when you cast it. They're about to talk about it here. So yeah, we didn't really ban it because, you know, there are some play patterns that are not great, right? It feels bad if somebody like wraths the board and then the next person's like, actually, I'll play a Biorhythm. I'll play Scoot Swarm. I'll play some lands in Biorhythm or whatever. Like that's not great, but also that is a play pattern that has been available to players in multiple different forms already, and in fact ones that we have been slowly peeling back and giving to players. So while we respect those concerns about ending the game and sitting to the Biorhythm players' right as a big disadvantage, we have now successfully unbanned several expensive spells that radically warp or end the game. World Fire, Sway of the Stars, Coalition Victory. All of those have ultimately turned out just fine. While Biorhythm is stronger, easier to set up, and yes, can make the game an unsatisfyingly end, it takes enough setup and has enough counterplay that it's far from an auto-include. As a situational 8-mana sorcery, there are plenty of times where it's a weak draw. So yeah, we have been giving players the tools to play these big game-ending spells that you have to build towards. Like we say, Biorhythm's an easier version of that, but it's also a more telegraphed version of that. And the three other cards that we have set up just so rarely show up in the the surveys that we've had, in the community outreach, in the articles that we posted, in the discussions that we've had, the anecdotal polls. Just like, players don't actually care about playing these cards, and when they do, they ensure to build their deck around doing so that, yeah, they resolved a 9-mana spell, had 2 other cards, and they get to win the game. And when you talk to a lot of Commander players, especially about combo, they don't care that they get combo killed, just as long as it doesn't feel like it was a secondary, like, oh, oops, I developed 2 cards that cost a total of 6 mana and you're dead. That sucks. That's not very exciting. But like if you build towards something and your deck's kind of built to do just that and you execute it, players are like, oh yeah, you got us and we didn't have the countermeasures, yada, yada, yada. That's fine. They're okay with that. Like, yeah, people in chat are mentioning Craterhoof. Craterhoof is a lot more effective way of killing people for both the cost of inclusion, the ability to find it, and the way to cast it. And that's, you know, that's just legal. In fact, it's reprinted. It's being made more accessible so more people can hoof in a way. And hoof, for what it's worth, has gotten worse. Like, there are just more tools available to players to interact at instant speed to brick wall hoof or to like catch people off guard. And if it doesn't happen, then well, if it's like turn 7 or whatever, sure, you hoofed the board. You know, that was your decision there. Well, we accept there is some risk here, but it's also a card with big moments that will generate some excitement. I personally can imagine a lot of games totally turned upside down in a memorable way as Biorhythm resolves. Suddenly the game has changed. It makes for a memorable experience as long as it isn't happening too often. Yeah, this is the fun part about Biorhythm, is that a lot of people don't like the idea of king making, but king making that is rolling a dice or flipping a coin is fun. That's something they remember, where an opponent casts Biorhythm and then another player wins the game, or they cast Biorhythm and then they lose the game because of it. And that is so fucking funny, right? Like, that's a thing you remember. And being able to remember it means that that's a story you're going to share with people, or that's something that you might try to recreate, but using different tools, or that it can happen to different people. Like, you can have the same outcome of I cast Biorhythm and then I died, or I cast Biorhythm, then the player to my left killed everybody after they had like nothing. And you can have these stories with a similar arc, but using different cards to get there. Like, I cast Biorhythm and then another player decided to cast like a Price of Progress and we all died. Or I cast Biorhythm and then this player decided to fling their commander at me and like it caused us all to die, or caused 2 of us to die. And then another player who was just like so far behind in the game just happened to have a Soul Warden or some shit and they killed them. Like, it's you have this same outcome but with different tools, and that's interesting. That's fun. So yeah, big spell. Cool spell. Like all the previously unbanned cards, this will immediately be put on the game changers list as well. Where it belongs, this card is quite definitionally. Holy Christ, I can't believe I struggled on that word. Changes the game. Yeah, so like these big sorceries are also just kind of cool. We see less of them. One thing that's interesting about them as well is that they also push decks that can just play mono creatures to play other card types. So again, this is something I talk about a lot. It's more interesting when you play a bunch of different cards, right? And sometimes you have the Biorhythm game, sometimes you don't. Sometimes your Biorhythm game is actually just like Repay in Kind, where you set everybody's life total to the lowest. Sometimes it's I got a bunch of life, you don't have a bunch of life, and I get to kill one person, and then I'm praying you don't kill me, and then you die, right? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. This is a big one. Now, again, like I said up at the top of the show, this is a team effort. We have the Commander format panel. We have the Commander team in-house at WotC, working on these decisions and like communicating and discussing about what changes are going to be made here. It is a team effort with multiple players, but I'll take a little bit of credit for this one. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened, but when we're talking about cards to unban, I was like, hey, WotC, like, how big of an issue is it if we just have banned as companion? Like, how big is it really that big of an issue if we just say you could play Lutri as your commander, just don't play it as your companion? The answer was that's not an issue. And so I was just I was very adamant of like, let's unban Lutri. Do you know how cool? I believe one of my exact words were, or some of my exact words were, do you know how good this will make us look? Like, I was like, do you know how good we will look if we are the group that unbans Lutri? Do you know how much, like, do you know how much good graces and that we'll receive from this? They'll love us. And that is genuinely important. Not just that we should make this change because it's one we can make and it'll make a ton of people happy, but it also just, like, we as a group are flexing that we have the tools to make changes that create new definitions that circumvent any kind of like binary of like it's either banned or it's not, and say the people want to play this, so let's let them play this, right? That's ultimately, I think, if you leave this conversation with an idea of what the Commander format panel's goals are, it's people like to play this card, they want to play this card, and then there's a diverging path of let's give it to them or let's not take it away from them. Like, they want to play the card. Let them play the card. It'll be fun. There's so much more otter support now. It's a cute little otter. There's more elemental support. Like, let them have Lutri. And yeah, as we'll see, this was a part of me being like, can we just say like banned as companion something that we can do? Because it's not happening again, right? Like, they may return to companion at some point in time, but I have been, at which, if you watch the most recent ranking the mechanics, I'm a fan of companion. I think companion is actually very cool in its oracled state. And I would like to see them have more companions that have genuine cost of inclusion, genuine deck building and gameplay decisions. I don't know how, when or how we're going to get that or what it looks like, but I would like to see more in the future because I do think it's kind of interesting. But also, the companion made such big waves that it's very straightforward to say, hey, you can't do that. Or like, hey, this guy can't be a companion, right? Lutri can't be a companion. That's it. It could be your commander, can't be a companion. Somebody sits down at a table. This was my favorite pitch. You sit down at a table. What's the first thing you do? Right? The first thing you do, you show people what commander you're playing, what you're thinking of playing. You talk about what commander you're playing. And to be like, hey, here's Lutri as my commander. And somebody goes, that is banned as a commander. You cannot play that as a commander. You're probably putting away your entire deck, or you're making a swap and it feels less exciting because you wanted to play Lutri. If you show up and you're like, here's my Nira deck and Lutri as my companion, and you go, oh, you can't play that as a companion. They go, oh, damn, okay. And they put it into their deck. Or they go, maybe I'll make it my commander. Or they go, maybe I just don't play with Lutri. It's just so... it's just so easy to do. It's so easy to just go, oh, okay. Like, if it's your companion... Yeah, if like there's a lot, you see this a lot when you have people discussing mechanics, or when you see people discussing cards that are banned or play experiences that are seen as negative, right? Either in the social aspect or the gameplay. Does it feel good to have someone tell you you can't play that card in Commander? No, it doesn't feel good because you wanted to play that card in Commander and you couldn't. Does it feel bad to have somebody tell you, you can't play this card as your companion? Honestly, yeah, of course. You wanted to play this as your companion. Now you don't get to. But that's okay because, like, you'll run into spots like that just playing Magic. You get told you can't do that or you shouldn't do that while playing Magic every single time. That's a part of the rules of the game. What do you mean I can't Doomblade this black creature? That feels bad. But you accept it because it's a part of the game. It's a part of this set of rules, this set of structure that, you know, you kind of need to keep intact in order for things to function as intended. So it's you may still run into spots where people have to put away Lutri as their companion or whatever. But it's so rare, and even if it happens, that they just don't care. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I get you. Or you just play it as your companion anyways, and you say like, hey, I have Lutri as a companion, but like mostly because I'm playing an Otter typal deck or whatever, and then they just won't care. Like Commander is such a casual, laid back format that like, yeah, just a lot of time they won't care. Somebody was mentioning Yorion. Yorion is not banned as a companion. You got to be very careful. Yorion can't really be your companion if you follow the letter of the law very strictly, but also talk about it with your play group. Hey, I have a 120 card deck and Yorion's my companion. Is that cool? Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, yeah, okay, sure. Can you fit them in your box? Like, whatever. Anyways, Lutri the Spellchaser's banning has always been a quirk. I was there in the room the day we first discussed how Lutri would need to be banned in Commander immediately and how we'd have to talk to the Commander Rules Committee at the time to get that sorted out. Lutri itself is far from too strong of a card in the game of Commander. However, the problem is that if Lutri is legal as a companion, every deck for the rest of the time has a blue-red color identity that should have Lutri as a companion. There is absolutely no downside to doing so. We don't want blue-red decks to have access to the extra card in every game of Commander. Yeah, that sucks. And it's not like it's a color combination that needs any help, nor have players who don't have access to Lutri get told they have to play Lutri. It's a really undesirable outcome to add a card that shows up at that level of ubiquity. Yeah, we've had this conversation before. Lutri has a lot of fun going for it. Copying spells is fun. It's a cute otter, and since the day it was revealed, players have been asking to play the card in Commander. A request that has only risen in popularity post Bloomborough. Yeah, this is something that people have wanted. They just, you know, people want to play with Lutri, but there was never a banned as companion designation. And honestly, I think designation is used in here. I don't even know if that's a word worth using. That makes it sound like it has its own page on like a wiki, or like it's a very special classification, and it's like not a big deal. It's just like, yeah, you just can't use it as this, right? After much discussion, we decided to free the otter, so today we're getting a new destination. Yeah, banned as companion, exactly as it sounds. Can't be used as a companion, but can appear in your deck and be your commander. Banned as commander, dog shit. Dog water, not coming back. It's so annoying. It's so heartbreaking. It is a much harder conversation to have, even if you're looking to rule 0. It's a much harder conversation to have with yourself as well, of like, okay, I just got my commander banned. And like, it's just so cumbersome, right? People already have a hard enough time following things, and it's so hard to tell you can't play that deck, right? We're not doing that. Banned as companion, fine. Banned as commander. Creating an additional list is something to be very careful about, but there have been plenty of discussions in the past about the dangers of banned as companion lists. It's one more list you have to track, and adds complexity among other reasons. However, today we're largely okay doing it for Lutri for 2 big reasons. First, if someone says they're going to have Lutri be your companion, it's the easiest thing to fix. You just say, hey, you know, you can't do that, and it changes what their deck is doing very little. It's very different from having something banned as commander when somebody's entire deck is invalid. Yeah, basically what I said. Secondly, unlike Legends writ large, we aren't really planning to tap in the companion mechanic much more. All the other ones we currently have are fine. It's not like you're going to need to monitor another list that oscillates. The list is and likely will forever remain just Lutri. remain forever just Lutri. And once again, if you companion it, it's very easy for a player to just point out it doesn't work. Failure case here is minimal. Yep. Yeah, it's the commander has changed. Commander has changed. The way people discuss Magic has changed. The way I'm saying this kind of tongue in cheek, but also positively. Magic the Gathering has changed because we now have more people playing, and a lot of those people 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like pre-COVID, early COVID, whatever, may have been turned away from the game because of the other player base. For the rest of the player base. Like, Magic is so popular. Magic is so popular. We've injected the player base with, like, you know, people that aren't shitheads. Now, shitheads are going to start playing the game too. But the game has spread so much that you have people picking it up and just understand that, like, yeah, we can have this conversation beforehand. Yeah, we could figure out what's going on here. Again, it's kind of like the biorhythm thing. It's something I say a lot, is that, like, there are cards that are currently banned or on the game changer list, or that people ask to be banned, that, like, the issue isn't the card. The issue is that people are shitty. And I feel like there has been such a sea change in how people carry themselves in Magic the Gathering, the conversations that they have ahead of Magic the Gathering, just even how they spend their time. People are more, you know, times are tough out there. You're more aware of what time you have available, right? It's a different game. And so I think you're going to have less feel bad situations, which means that, you know, you can have cards like this. Not banned as commander. Yeah. Now, don't take this to mean we're likely to implement banned as commander in the future. This is a unique case and solution for an otter people have been waiting for. Haha. Speaking of unique cases, we're breaking our normal protocol and moving cards from the ban list to the game changers list when they're banned for Lutri, because the card was banned solely due to its strength as a companion. Doesn't apply here. No reason to gate it as a game changer. Lutri is free. Lutri fan can rejoice. Jeweled Lotus conversation. I hate Jeweled Lotus. I think Jeweled Lotus should be banned, should stay banned. It's stupid fucking Magic card. Like, I'm not the person, if you're looking for good news about Jeweled Lotus. I hate it. I think, in fact, out of all the bans that were made in that very controversial ban change before the dissolution of the rules committee and whatnot, I think Jeweled Lotus and Nadu are the most defensible bans. If you're making bans, my mentality is that if you're making bans on fast mana that is just, like, absurdly powerful, warps the gameplay, and does show up at a variety of levels of play, you should, in fact, attack the one that was specifically designed for your format that overstep. Right? Like, crypts, like mana crypts, whatever. Like, I've more so moved towards the idea that Mana Crypt should have not been unbanned. I think I mentioned that when that conversation was happening. But the Jeweled Lotus, like, it's, yeah, that card should have been banned, of course. What the fuck are you talking about? It's a Black Lotus for your commander. Jeweled Lotus doesn't, the idea of Jeweled Lotus being the thing that, like, this is the only thing that helps out 8-drop, 7-drop, 6-drop commanders. It's like, you could just play those. It makes them more viable. That doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because it also just helps out the cheaper ones too, right? You know, Black Lotus makes it more appealing to cast 6-drops, and yet all the vintage lists that I see to play Black Lotus, there's just casting Psychic Frogs and Bowmasters. Sometimes they're playing 3-drops. That's pretty exciting. My point is, for Lotus, it's just, yeah, you ban the card that they made with a targeted idea, but overstep that idea, and then also power crept with the reduced cost of commanders. The idea that, like, 4 mana and 5 mana is a great point to make very powerful commanders. Aboria for the 77th month. Welcome back. How you doing? Good afternoon, Wheeler. Happy Bandless Day. Thank you for good work. Well, thank you for your support. Thank you for the kind words. I hope you're doing well. Sundering Titan. So we discussed unbanning Sundering Titan and putting it on the game changer list. The idea being that it's a card that if people are discussing their game changers, they are, it's a card that's mass land destruction, and that. Okay, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll read this. I'll say thank you to Imasock TTV. Thank you so much for all the support. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Titan was banned at a time where you could play it, find a way to repeatedly blink it with Deadeye, and ruin everybody else's mana base. Commander's come a long way since then. Getting into those kind of boards happens a lot less often. While land denial is never the most fun, it is possible that now it's actually a time that punishing ramping mana bases full of triomes and dual lands is actually a bit heroic. Additionally, Titan is in kind of a funny spot because the bracket system sets up some nice guidelines against land denial, and it would be a game changer, limiting it from appearing in bracket 2 and below. And if you're planning to repeatedly loop or blink Titan regularly, that kind of land denial strategy is not something welcome in bracket 3. For all these reasons, we consider unbanning this card. Yeah, so the Titan discussion and a lot of the other cards that we're about to talk about here comes from trusting in our bracket system. The belief of we put out the system, it's working. We should believe in our system to do its job, right? Titan won't show up at bracket 1 and 2. Titan realistically will not show up in bracket 3. And if you are going to repeatedly blow up people's lands at bracket 4 and bracket 5, playing in those brackets means that you are likely more invested and franchised into this game than your average player, and you're probably not going to have the experience of, I got my lands blown up by Sundering Titan, I'm never going to play Magic the Gathering again. It's, I got my lands blown up by Sundering Titan, I'm going to ask them not to do that. I'm going to ask them to choose to play a different deck. You gotta, don't do that. We don't want to play with that. Like, that conversation happens, and then the player gets to go, okay, heard. Or the player goes, actually, I want to blow up all of your lands. And then that's a social aspect. And, yeah, maybe you need to have a conversation. Damn, can you believe it? You have to have a conversation when playing your social 4-player board game. So that was my push for this card, is it's handled by the bracket system. It's annoying. It's very, it is mass land destruction. Real gross. Real gross. But also, it's not, only when you're repeatedly doing it is it, real mass land destruction. Especially at a table of 4 players, right? And for what it's worth, at higher brackets, if this is doing its job, then it is, punishing people that players are already frustrated with, right? You're all, if it's in there doing its damn thing at a higher bracket where you're okay with this kind of debauchery, then it is doing so towards the players that are already kind of farming frustration, if you will, right? Big green X ramp decks. Keeps them in check. Doesn't even knock them out entirely, just keeps them in check, and often has splash damage, right? Also worth mentioning that this is a card that if it does show up in, say, bracket 3 or bracket 4, or bracket 3, maybe like a bracket 4 where somebody is, dipping their toe into that format or whatever, it's a card that does not impact budget strategies as strongly as it does those that have invested into dual lands, triomes, shock lands, whatever, right? If you're playing a 2-color deck with Port Town and fucking Celestial Colonnades and stuff, you're probably not the one getting targeted, 1. And 2, even if you lose a land, that's whatever. Your mana base is whatever, right? Which is kind of cool. However, with all that said, the fact remains this card can be quite unfun. While a lot of players are using brackets, plenty don't, and that means this card could show up at a lot of tables and cause frustration in games. It's powerful land destruction, which is perhaps the most hated mechanic of all Commander, and as a colorless artifact, it can go into any deck and be ramped out. If it goes wrong, it can really go wrong, so we decided not to touch it this go around, but we'd love your thoughts. Yeah, so again, like I said up at the top where, we talked about changing brackets, we talked about what we can do with our bracket system. We have a lot of confidence in the bracket system. And because of that, we want to let it cook before we make any additional changes. And I imagine I'm not saying that this is going to happen, just to be clear, but I imagine the progression of this is solidify what brackets are, whether that means introducing new ones or refining what we have, using the tools that we have at hand to get that information out to as many people as possible, so that, everybody's on board, and then decide whether or not Titan can be unbanned in these circumstances. Right? Like, I am also a proponent of as few cards banned as possible. People love to do shit like this. There are people that love to blow up lands. And while I don't personally believe that mass land destruction is something that really jives with a lot of Commander, it's so hard to tell somebody they're having fun the wrong way, And to give them, if you give them the communication tools, you give them the set the expectations, and then say okay, now you can play with this. I do personally imagine that Sundering Titan does not cause as many problems as you'd think, right? Iona. This is a fun one. If you haven't listened to two things. One, there's a new episode of Sheepman Wheeler Love Magic that's out today where we talk about Rise of the Eldrazi, including the leftovers for at patreon.com/SheepmanWheeler. And on the Zendikar episode, we had a chat about Iona. So if that's something you're interested in doing, go listen to the Zendikar episode. We talk about Iona. Pretty interesting conversation. Also, Philmus, thank you for gifting a sub to the Fluffiest Guinea Pig. Very kind of you. And Red the Lily, thank you for the 100 bits. Thank you for the service. Sincerely, a Lutri fan. Okay. So let's talk Iona. Iona is an exciting, expensive angel with a splashy effect. And at the right table with the right deck, its effect can be perfectly fine as a little disruption. I think there's actually a bit of fun in navigating the politics to get someone to remove Iona so you can start casting spells again. There's good to come from this card. Yes. Iona has so much good going for it, but people are just stuck. And this is going to sound more targeted to Sheevan than I want it to be, but I'm not saying that because I'm seeing multiple people in chat say that they've hated this card or they didn't want to play this card. Mind you, we have somebody saying this ironically got me into Commander. And I believe I was talking to Angel about this, and Angel's like, yeah, this was my Commander. Iona is a great example of this is not a problem with the card. It's a problem with people being an asshole. It's a problem with goals not being coordinated as a part of a conversation that you have pre-game or even during the game, right? Iona is a massive angel, which is something everybody loves. She's a legendary angel, meaning that that's something that everybody loves, right? Or angels are one of the coolest things in Magic the Gathering, one of the most popular things in Magic the Gathering, right? She offers a little taxation and restriction that can be powerful, very powerful, and there's a lot of doomsaying of this card locking people out of the game. Except for the fact that, on that note, your average Commander players play so much more interaction than they did previously, and a variety of pieces of interaction as well. So, yes, if I play Iona and there's a monocolored deck at the table, and I say, I'm naming this monocolor, I fuck over that player, but also that requires me to be a jerk especially if this isn't just ending the game, right? If this is ending the game, that's a bit of a different story. But like if it's early enough, which is a weird thing to say for a 9-drop, and it's not ending the game, yeah, this is just like casting Armageddon and then letting everybody sit around for 5 turns. That is handled by the social construct and the game changer list. Not to mention, overall, people are getting better at not doing that. And even if it does happen, then you coordinate with the other players. You talk to them. Hey, if you remove this, I will kill this person. They tried to end me, right? Like, that's a conversation. There's texture to how you are playing the game with your other players. There's camaraderie. There's agreements. There are deals being made. That's fucking dope. There's a lot of good that can come from having a large legendary angel with incredible artwork that can provide a little taxation that does have the ability to lock somebody out, but when it's done at a stage of the game which is not deemed socially acceptable, that player gets punished. They get told not to come back, not to play that, not to do, X, Y, Z. I believe in the bracket system, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and I believe in the Commander player base to be able to play this responsibly. The problem is that this effect easily shuts a player out of the game. It totally stops monocolor players from playing Magic, and even many 2-color decks from having a large portion of their hand rendered uncastable. Yeah. We covered that. That can happen when it happens, and when it happens at a very specific time, that's not great. And don't let that mana cost fool you. It's a premier card to cheat into play, and it's worth calling out that Iona is also a part of a 2-card combo with Painter's Servant that prevents any of your opponents from ever casting spells again. That is annoying as hell. If somebody sets out to do exactly that, they're probably playing at a higher bracket. If you're playing at a higher bracket, it's okay to do that and lock people out and treat it as a win con. But also, it's not a hard lock. We have tools. We have Besagus and Otawaras and ways to break up this lock that is uncounterable. What is the upside of unbanning this? Is it going to make Commander more fun to have a creature that can shut down your opponent's games? There are many questions we asked upon ourselves. Very close to being unbanned, right on the cusp. Ultimately, we decided it was great to get feedback from you all on this. Yeah, this is a very emotional card for a lot of people because it tells you no, and you don't want to be told no when you're sitting down here and you're playing your casual game or whatever, right? That's why we just want to talk about it more. Like, if Iona, also worth noting, Iona in the 99, if you are playing against somebody in like bracket 2 or bracket 3, which as a game changer, it's probably not going to be in bracket 1 or 2, but if you're playing at bracket 3 and somebody has a deck where they're going to reanimate an Iona and then name the color of a monocolored deck, like, is that a problem of Iona or is that a problem of a player making a game decision that just eradicates another player? Right? How different is that from somebody deciding to just take infinite turns? How different is that from somebody that just decides to Armageddon or put out a Grave Pact and repeatedly wrath the board? There are so many tools available right now that prevent people from playing Magic the Gathering and engaging in Commander, especially at bracket 3. And the Iona has the baggage so that it is more likely to be communicated, that it is more likely that, obviously if this is your commander, then you're going to be like, hey, I want to play Iona. Is that okay? And somebody goes, no, I don't want to play against Iona because I only brought monocolored decks, or I only want to play monocolored decks. And it's like, okay, sure. Then you don't do that. That doesn't feel great, but that's a conversation that happens all the time. And as an Iona player, you probably understand why. So there's no confusion, like if I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm sleeving up my Talrand deck. Is everybody cool with that? And somebody goes, no. And you're like, oh, well, why? And they're like, I don't wanna. That feels bad. There's like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with my Talrand deck? Right? Is it blue? Do they not want to deal with flyers? What are they worried about? What's going on? If it's Iona, there's a bit more of an understanding as to why you're doing this, right? There's a bit more of a conversation going on of like, hey, I have this Iona deck that I want to play. Is that cool? And someone's like, I really don't want to play against Iona. And you go, internally, you're like, why would they not want to play against Iona? It's like, no shit why they wouldn't want to play against Iona. Because it locks people out of the game. And so maybe you don't play it there. Maybe you wait for a different play group. Maybe you wait for a different round, different players, or whatever. Right? But it's the fact that they would have the option to play with a play group in a situation where they could play Iona. And that's good. That's letting more players play with more cards. And the use case that everybody's terrified of, the use case that they ran into 10 years ago when your average Magic the Gathering player would tip 7% at a restaurant, would use slurs galore. Like that is so infrequently happening nowadays. It still happens. These people tip nothing and they don't respect people. But like, it's, you know what you do now? You know what we figured out? We figured out to tell those players to fuck off. We've created a culture where that's okay to tell them to fuck off, that you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to be a part of that. The issues that people have surrounding this card are less about this card and more issues about a culture in the game that has diminished greatly. And in a format where there are fewer tools available to the players in game, be it removal, be it interaction, be it whatever, deck building decisions, and fewer tools available from a social perspective. That's why I think Iona should be unbanned. Griselbrand. Also, if your argument against this is it sucks, dude, you got to do a little bit better than that. That could be a part of your argument. If your argument is this sucks, dude, and here's why, then maybe I'll buy it. I'm open for the conversation. Hell, we're open for the conversation because we understand how sticky this is. Thoughts on Paradox Engine? That card is too good, takes too long, too easy to use. And when somebody lies or when somebody has ill-aligned expectations when playing it, it is harder to feel bad about them because often calling that out is something that can be targeted towards playability rather than a simple binary, right? Like, to draw an example for Iona, if I play Iona and somebody's like, okay, I'm playing a monocolored deck, you're not going to like name my deck and I'm going to lose because of it, right? The Iona player goes, no, I won't do that. And they get to a crossroads, they're like, shit, I really want that name, that color, but I said no, I'm not going to do that, right? Paradox Engine. Oh, you're playing Paradox Engine? Yeah, but when I get to my turn, I'm going to be very quick and effective at it. And they get to their turn and go, oh shit, this is more complicated than I thought. And then they just take fucking forever to do, right? It's, and how do you, if the Iona player does decide to name the color of the monocolor deck, you're like, dude, what the fuck? You said you weren't going to do A, you did A, and now I can't play, and everybody else here witnessed it. The Paradox Engine player tries to combo off, they take fucking forever to do. The whole table's like, dog, you said this was going to be quick. And they're like, sorry, I'm bad, or I didn't know, or whatever, I misfired. There's just so much more room for Paradox Engine to go wrong, to have somebody break promises, to fuck up, but do so in a way that puts the onus on their abilities. And that creates a lot of feel bads. Also, it's just too good. Way too good. Hershey Bar for the 50th month. Welcome back. Hello, everybody. It's Bong Jammin' Weedler. Thank you. Glad to have you. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? God, I have Angel's hair all over me. What the hell? I mean, it makes sense, but it's just unless it's Mulder's hair. Griselbrand. If the other two are on the safer side, Griselbrand is certainly not. The premier reanimation target takes advantage of the 40-point life total in Commander to draw a good chunkier deck, and in many cases win the game on the spot. This card had to be banned extremely quickly for power level reasons when it first premiered in Avacyn Restored. This card is a tremendous risk, giving people access to this game-winning draw engine, so why even consider it? Yeah, Griselbrand is sweet. People love the card. It's worked its way into pretty much every format it's legal in, and it's a ton of fun to play. The games with this card can be such a rush, and in fact, it's so exciting that I've had to tell multiple people they have to remove it from the Commander decks because it's banned. Yeah, Griselbrand is sick. This card is obviously busted. It's obviously broken. But again, it has a lot of the same baggage as Iona of like, if it's in the command zone, then it's so easy. It's, you know, obviously it's not as easy as saying, hey, you know, you can have that as a companion. Actually, this comparison sucks. But like, if it's in the command zone, you're like, oh, well, what kind of Griselbrand deck are we playing here, right? If it's in their deck that's looking to cheat it out as quickly as possible, that's also something that is likely restricted to higher brackets. Again, this is the riskier one, but it's so fucking cool. It's a big demon that draws a bajillion cards. There are a lot of card advantage engines in Commander that are incredibly powerful, right? This one is incredibly powerful. I don't even think it would be the best. I mean, it's pretty strong. It does, as the Commander, obviously, it you know, limits the amount of colors you have. In the 99, it's a bit of a different story. That's where we're really scared about this card, right? While the other, it's incredibly powerful, but at bracket 3 and above is it really out of the question? It could even open up something new at the CDH level. While the others are maybe not a huge risk, the reward is also much less for unbanning them. Freeing Griselbrand would unleash what would become an incredibly powerful and highly played card, but also one players really love, and in many ways, Commander is about letting people play the cards that they love. Yeah, basically, it's like, if this card is fucking everywhere and people don't get the hint, then that could be tragic, very annoying. But also, it's Griselbrand, and that's cool, and we want to let people play cool things. Somebody was asking about Primeval Titan, and Prime Time is kind of Griselbrand to the extreme of like, if we unban Primeval Titan, not happening, people are so excited to play Prime Time because it's so cool, right? It's so popular. Primeval Titan is so fucking popular and so fun to play with. It's going to be everywhere. Nothing about Prime Time is cool. Cap. Prime Time is exciting to play. It lets you play weirdo utility lands. Lets you, I mean, again, it's just going to find Field of the Dead to start with. But like, lets you find some cool shit. Lets you do it repeatedly. There's some interesting things you could set up with it. People will have different goals with Primeval Titan, but that's the problem. It's too good, it's too popular, and it's too much of a risk. Whereas Griselbrand is kind of like Prime Time, still high risk, but I would argue a much higher reward and a little bit of a less of a risk, right? But Griselbrand is just like a cooler version of Prime Time in that, like, it's a risk letting people play this, but we have game changers. We have the game changer. We have the brackets. We have the conversations that we have up front. We have the social expectation of what is and isn't going to be acceptable based on these brackets in place. And this card is pretty fucking cool. The Primetime analogy completely lost you. That's fine. I don't care about you. I care about casting Griselbrand. Like, it's Primetime. Primetime and Griselbrand are both very cool things to do. It's that simple. It's about what players want to do. Primetime is too good and too many players want to do it, and it's too easy to do it. Griselbrand is something that is very good. A lot of players want to do it, but not everybody. And it does something that is very powerful, but also very straightforward at what it's going to find and the kind of, like, in the way that you can interact with it and the gameplay that is attached to it is, you know, different. Yeah, there's no Sylvan Primordial on the list because that card is a little bit of Prime Time and a little bit of Sundering Titan. That's a card that is like miserable because it does both things, and because of how it plays out, there is also just, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? What I guess as a little side tangent, one thing you have to understand when it comes to whether or not a card is banned and whether or not a card is on a game changer list is like an expected play pattern and how players perceive their game actions. If you play Sundering Titan, you know what you are doing. You know what to expect, and you have to be fucking blunt or just intentionally obtuse to recognize that what you are doing is not just blowing up a bunch of lands, right? That's okay in certain brackets, but it's not like, it's not something for everywhere, right? Sylvan Primordial does that, but does it in a way that can convince people that what they're doing is not actually bad, right? It's like, oh, I just blow up one land. I just blow up that. I blow up that. I rant myself a little bit. I deal with your problematic cards. You know, they've tricked themselves into thinking that what they are doing is fine, which means that it is likely to show up with an increased frequency because you have players that understand that Sylvan Primordial is going to take over the game and play a role like Primeval Titan, while also, or Sundering Titan, either Titan, frankly. But then you also have the people that are like, yeah, it's not so bad. I'm just playing it because I don't want to die to Field of the Dead, or I want to blow up this problematic enchantment. And then they reanimate it, or they flicker it, and they're like, hey, wait a minute. This is pretty good. And then, yeah, there's something about like, please let us know we have these tools to do this, yada yada. Finally, I would be remiss to not mention Jewel Lotus anywhere in this article because I know some of you are wondering if it'll be discussed. We did and decided not to unban it here. Yeah, to hell with Jewel Lotus. I hate that magic card. It sucks. It does not contribute to good play. It does not fix issues. Those issues aren't issues because Jewel Lotus is banned. Those issues are because you're trying to play 7-drop commanders in a competitive format. Right? Like, what are we talking about here? And no bans. We discussed Thassa's Oracle and Rhystic study. We got a lot of information from players, from surveys, about Thassa's Oracle and Rhystic study. Rhystic study should be banned. It's not a fun magic card. See, that's the thing. To a lot of people, it is fun. You don't get to decide what is or isn't fun to a player base as broad as Commander, especially when the play pattern is just, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not just drawing cards, right? Give me a shred of credit when I'm saying this, but it is drawing cards, right? It is still taking game actions and letting people execute game actions, right? Yeah, it's fun to draw a bunch of cards. It's a card that has so much baggage attached to it as well that it is likely to show up primarily in bracket 5 and bracket 4, like at play levels where it's expected to try and play, you know, very powerful optimal stuff. Should be banned because it's the most powerful card in the format and wrap the entire CDH meta around it. See, we talked again. That is at least not a consensus held by the representatives on our Commander format panel that are effectively the CDH players, the CDH representatives, nor is it one that is held within community leaders in CDH that like within a reasonable consensus is what I'm saying, right? There's a lot of absolutes being discussed by people that do not have the information that I have. So I'll talk in absolutes because I got the data that says you're wrong. Ha ha I mean, the data is a strong word, but you know what I mean. Also, just the player base actually likes, you know, they like this card more than you'd think. Not to mention, do you know how much of a fucking uproar if Rhystic Study got banned? Holy shit. Do you want us to get more death threats? You want somebody to be at my doorstep with the blicky? No. Gonna got like Shinzo Abe out front of Yell Jacket. Yeah, less bans, not more. And then Thoracle, another one that's same set of circumstances that I met with Rhystic Study and talking to you know, the CDH people is like, you want the like gone? You want this gone? Like you want it banned, like completely removed. And and that's going to make for the best format, the best competitive setting, because this card does not impact lower levels of play. Occasionally you'll run into people being like, I'm playing a self-mill deck, but I have to do it the hard way, and I do have Thassa's Oracle and Lab Man and stuff as my kill condition. But like, so rarely does it show up. Yeah, these cards aren't being banned. It's so funny. Thassa's Oracle is one of those cards where like, person who's watched one CDH game where Thoracle was the kill condition is like, they should ban this from CDH. It's all that people can do in there. It's just Thoracle, only Thoracle. You've watched one CDH game. Also, in competitive formats, it's okay for there to be a best thing to do. That's okay. The format also has the tools. But we're not getting into that. Commander banned and restricted updates. A couple more things we want to share before winding down. First and foremost, you might notice that this announcement coincides with the one for other formats. This is not something to expect going forward. This is just how the timing worked out. Second, unlike last year, we are not limiting ourselves to just one ban restricted window in a year. If we decide we want to do something such as unban a card, we can come back later this year and do it. That's not to say we necessarily will, but we're not withholding any changes we wanted to make today. But based on your feedback, we have that option. And please be sure to share the thoughts. And then you got the list of the people, and then that's me. I'm Benny Wheels. Hello. Hello. Cool. Yeah, so that's the change to the Commander ban list format panel restriction thing. Like, we went into this, right, discussing everything you've seen here: the Biorhythm, Lutri, Titan, Iona, Griselbrand, Rhystic, and Thassa's Oracle. Like, we talked about all those cards extensively, right? We spent a long time talking about those cards. There are other cards that we talked about. We talked about basically every card on the ban list we talked about in some way, shape, or form. But like, just because we've talked about them doesn't mean they're necessarily going to happen. And I hope that the fact that we didn't just unban Sundering Titan, Iona, and Griselbrand, and instead said, like, we recognize that these might be contentious. We want to talk to the players. We want to hear feedback. We want to be transparent in things that we have discussed. We want to be transparent in why we think this would be cool, but we understand here are some complaints players may have. Please let us know if you do think these are cool, or if the complaints line up with your complaints. If you feel like those complaints are preventing it from being unbanned, right? Like, that's because it's okay to be like, I wish, it's okay to be like, okay, Sundering Titan is a bit of a shithead, but you can also unban it, right? You can also unban it. That's fine. You can have negative aspects about a card and release it to the jackals, right? We do that all the time. Have you seen the fucked up cards in Commander? Have you seen what's available? If you want to operate as though these jackasses put Winter Orb at bracket 1, right? Like, yeah, you can be a bad actor. You can operate in poor faith. Whatever you want, dog. I'm still holding hope for Gifts Ungiven. Gifts Ungiven is unbanned. What fucking rock have you been under? Gifts and Givens unbanned. We unbanned that last year. Yeah, I got to work. Fucking Commander players. I mean, another great example of an issue with this. You can be online, hopeful about a single card, and not realize that it's unbanned, that it's legal. You could do this. You can do this. You can already do that. Commander's a wild format to try and moderate. But ultimately, I think our goal, and I will say my goal, certainly, is to open up the tools available to players, give them more cards, unban create a ban list that is as trim as possible. And then use our communication tools, use our guidelines for what is and isn't going to end up being socially acceptable at different stages. And let you and your player base decide. Stickers and attractions, we didn't talk about that because they don't matter. It's fine. It's such a non-issue. Current stance on Soul Ring, waste of time discussing. Yeah, people love it. People fucking adore it. I disagree with, because people always abuse that shit with Painter Servant. What do you mean always abuse? That's not a real argument. Please do better if you're wishing for me to take it seriously. Because they don't always abuse it. Cards get played in a variety of ways, and you also can't necessarily make a judgment call on how a card is going to get played if it hasn't been played for like a decade. Or however long. What is it, like 8 years? 9 years? I'm not expecting people to be able to navigate this discussion with I'm not expecting them to navigate this discussion with a viewpoint or a mindset that is going to be completely devoid of personal experience and of emotion, right? That's not how this works. That's not how people, even in my position, operate. But just cut absolutes out of your cut absolutes out of your conversation, and you'll do so much better. Great. Okay. Before I move on, is there any questions, any conversations, anything? I'll try to answer as best as I can. I'm not talking absolutes. You said the word always. Defend yourself. You said the word always. Always? I unbanned Lutri. I'm ending the stream. Well, I'm not ending the stream.